Welcome to Muddy River News this week. My name is David Adam. We have a dual interview this week. We're going to talk to the mayoral candidates here in Quincy. And first, we're going to speak with the Republican incumbent, Mike Troup. Welcome again. We've done this before.
Yeah. Thanks for having
me.
So
I had to struggle to come up with some different questions for you than the last time. I don't want to repeat.
I'm sure you don't have problems with that.
It wasn't that hard.
Yes.
So my first question to you, how has campaigning against Linda Moore been different than campaigning against Dan Brink?
You know, again, it's in the campaign world, it's the opponent, so I don't think it's different. My campaign crew, I said, we're just going to stick to the facts. We don't need to make up stories. Keep it fact-based on whoever is running against me, and we've been able to do that. So. She's got different issues than my primary opponent had, but outside of those things, it's still the opponent, and we're just trying to get our word out. I think we've got a strong record of what we've accomplished in almost 4 years, and as long as we get that message out, I think we should do fine.
What did you learn? One of the things that has happened since the last time we talked, it was the 49th and Columbus Road housing issue that didn't go through. What did you learn about that particular experience that you will use when looking at future housing proposals?
Well, again, zoning's a big issue, right? So that was undeveloped land within the 1.5 mile, zoned currently as agriculture. The developer that came into town to take a look, that was the one site that he really thought, based on price, location, what he expected as the cost to build, was the preferred site of every other location that he looked at. And so, he met with planning and development. To do that, you're going to have to do zoning. We're going to have the public. This is the steps that we go through. Those steps are not unusual. This person is a phenomenal developer. He has something like $4 billion worth of housing that he's built in his career so far. And I still think that we're lucky to have him looking at Quincy.
Is he still?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Jason Parrott and I, our planning director and I met or called him the day after the council took the action. And first of all, we were relieved he answered the call. Second, we had a good, 20, 30-minute conversation with him, talked about some other lots, thought about what, we can do or need to do as we go forward. And he was going to do some other work with his development team, designers, and then get back to us. So again, we need developers like that. We've got great local developers, that are doing a handful of properties here and there throughout the community. But this was going to really, I think, go after a huge market rate apartment segment that nobody else has been talking about.
Back to the campaign. This is your second time to do something like this. What's the hardest part about this? What's the part about it that is just like, I hate doing this? Is there? I know you talked about your team, so you get a lot of help from them.
Absolutely. I mean, again, what probably frustrates me and my campaign team is they understand I'm not a politician. Okay, so when they're saying we got to do this, I'm like, really?
Example?
Well, I think all the interviews and that, it's one thing to be interviewed after a city council meeting as to what happened and to talk. It's another thing, sitting down or going through, if it's debates or those kinds of things. But that's part of in order to get elected, that's part of the process that anyone has to go through. So that's not something that I've ever done for anything else, career-wise, work-wise. So that definitely puts me in my uncomfort zone.
Ooh, I like you came up with a new word there,
Yeah.
uncomfort. The last time we were here, you just said, hey, I've made mistakes during my first term. How will the second term be better?
Well, I think knowing how the city council works and operates, and I think those experiences, not just my first 2 years, but the full 4 years, you see, we got a lot accomplished, in this first term. The momentum that we've built up, again, let's go back to where we were 4 years ago. We were coming out of COVID. We had numerous empty big box stores in the community. The economy was unknown. What's going to happen as we pull ourselves out of COVID? We brought in good developers. We brought in good retailers. We brought in 2 strong industrial. Today, Quincy has more jobs than people, okay? We have more investment. So even though we've given some incentives out to developers, they brought in millions more that have already been invested into the community that is churning over multiple times. Our sales tax revenues have never been higher. And the sales tax revenues is what really allows us to address the infrastructure problems. Okay, so I'm feeling happy with where we've been able to bring Quincy up. We've got the 4th year of a $50 million a year budget,
Right.
which is the highest that the city has had ever. I want to continue working on that momentum and get Quincy to the next level.
All right. Also, when we talked before, you said that the city has averaged spending $12.7 million a year on fixing the city's streets.
Just the streets.
Right. If you maintain that pace, when are all of our streets going to be fixed? Or is that sort of like a never-ending cycle?
I think that's like a pothole question.
Okay.
With our climate, and unless industry comes up with a new method or new material to use for streets, when you have the ground frozen, thawing, spring rains, you name it, we get a little bit of everything in our climate.
Right.
I think 50 years from now, no matter who's on the city council, no matter who's...
I doubt you're going to be the mayor.
I will not be the mayor
Okay.
in 50 years. But whoever it is, I think they're still going to be talking about potholes.
Yeah. Where do you stand on the Q Ryle housing proposal that is the non-binding amendment? I mean, if you had a vote for it, what would you vote for? And if you would vote against it, how would you tweak it or change it?
Yeah. My issue with that is that what the group that's pushing that put it on the ballot, I just don't see how that action is actually going to fix what the objective is.
Okay.
Okay? So with that, I think there's better alternatives. And so my personal vote would be I'm a no on that, but that doesn't mean I'm a no on the housing. I think the city has an obligation. The aldermen have no interest in building housing of any type, okay? But with the ordinances that we have on the books, we do have an obligation when we receive a complaint to actually investigate it, and whatever we find wrong, we've got to let the owner know these are the things that need to be corrected, because as is, the landlord or the property does not meet the minimum housing standards. I've yet to have a single complaint that our minimum housing standard needs to be changed. The landlords haven't complained about it. The tenants haven't complained about it. So I say, okay, look, we have a good, solid minimum housing definition. What we have to do is the enforcement. I think, again, most of us agree that the great majority, 95, 98% of our landlords operate their rental housing well above the minimum housing standards. Federal law says we can't go after just a segment of the landlords. We have to have rules and policies in place that would treat every landlord the same.
Right.
Okay? So when some people say, well, just go after the so-called slumlords, federal law doesn't allow us to do that. The way our system operates, we are a complaint-driven.
Right.
And that complaint, if you can't see it from a public access, public right-of-way, that there's a hole in the building or a hole in the roof or
A broken window or whatever.
those things, then we're totally reliant on the tenant to make a complaint. And we get them, so we're getting those. What I did find out, I think in this last year, there turns out to be two types of, we got the short form complaint form, and we now have what I refer to as the long
Right.
form. The long form allows us to move quicker in front of a judge to say, look, this is an unsafe situation. We need some action.
Sure.
We need to get the attention. We're using that on 3 different properties right now.
Okay.
Okay? And the way that those discussions in the court with the owner is moving, I think we're finding a better solution on addressing repeat offenders or the most serious landlords that are not complying with minimum housing standards.
Now, I know that the referendum in of itself is non-binding.
Correct.
It may go no further than that. But what do you think, could the city council or could the mayor's office bring all sides together to try to facilitate, hey, let's try to figure this out?
Yeah,
Because it doesn't seem like the two sides are really that far. They all want still the same thing.
Yeah, we have that. I know our planning development and inspection department meets regularly with people from the safe livable housing as well as other. There seems to be multiple housing groups now.
Factions.
Yeah, but we'll meet with any of them. I've been involved with several myself. So there is dialogue among all of us, but we don't quite have the one solution that everybody agrees to yet.
Yeah. When people see you out on the street, not necessarily at a formal event, but just, hey, I'm going to run to the grocery store or something like that.
Yeah.
What do they say to you?
You're the mayor, aren't you? And, you know, it was funny. At first, when I first got in 4 years ago, it really gave me a little shiver. Like, oh my gosh, you know.
I am the mayor.
Yeah, I am the mayor, and what are they going to throw at me? And then they start asking the questions, and now again, it's just, hey, you know, either I have a question or.
What do they typically ask you? When they stop you on the street, what do they typically ask about?
It depends, whatever's in the news that week.
Okay.
Okay, so there's not a regular, you know, you get your fair share of, hey, I like what you're doing on this, or, you know, the streets really need work, or I've got a, you know.
Right.
How do you, you know, so who did you call? If you didn't call anybody, nobody knows that pothole in front of your house is really bothering you.
Okay.
So try to give them the number, you know, please
Yeah.
call, because, you know, believe it or not, we don't have enough employees to drive down every street every day to take a look at, you know, what all the problems are.
4 years from now, we come back here. What do you hope you would have accomplished in that time?
I think further growth, you know, the
Business growth?
we still have to go into we have so much work that needs to be done in our infrastructure. Again, just the streets. We went from an average of 3.4 million before I became mayor to now we're spending over 12.7 just on streets, curbs, and sidewalks.
Right.
That's a challenge to keep that and to build on that, but we have to. There's so much work that needs to be done. Our water main, we have 100 miles of main water distribution lines with a lot of, so 100 miles, that's the equivalent of Quincy to Springfield, Illinois.
Right.
Okay? A lot of those lines were installed in the late 1870s, 1880s, or 1890s with material that was designed to last 75 years. Now, Model A's and Model T's, which people for the most part can remember, which we don't see every day driving around.
It's Industrial Weekend, maybe.
Yes. The Model A and Model T, they're newer than our main water, and we're relying on those pipes to provide you and I in our home fresh drinking water, our industry, our commercial people to use that. We've got to address that. On top of that, we've got $40 billion for lead water pipes that need to be replaced. Okay? And we're doing bits of that every year, but those are some big dollars that we need to continue to fund and find money, apply for grants, do whatever we can to address that. You know, we put $10 million into the water treatment plant this year. The first major renovation to the water treatment plant since 1957. Right. You know, everything does wear down. You need to reinvest, make sure everything's up and operating, meeting code, et cetera. And we're trying to generate the dollars so we can do that. And I think the other side, looking forward, I'd like to do whatever we can to keep our property tax low. We're the only government group that city taxpayers get charged for that have made a significant reduction in their portion of the property tax. And part of why we can do that is we've got other tax sources, you know, with our sales tax, and we've got, you know, all the retail sales tax that have increased nicely and continue to be up at that higher level. That's what helps us pay for the infrastructure. We still rely on the property tax to help us with the fire and police pension, and I'm glad that we're paying more than the 100% of the actuarial, you know, balance that we get billed for each year, and we got to continue that.
All right, we're going to change up the ending here a little bit. I created a lightning round. All right.
Okay.
Except these have nothing to do with the administration of the city of Quincy. All right. This is just kind of something. This has been, you know, everybody gets a little fired up about an election, so I want to have a little fun here. So I got quick, and to make it fair, I'll participate as well.
Okay.
So it's not just you. So all right, something that never fails to make you laugh.
My grandkids.
I said watching videos of my grandson. He's 2 months old,
Yeah.
and he's trying to talk, and he's trying to grab stuff, and he just doesn't quite know how yet.
Exactly. I mean, that is so refreshing. And my grandchildren, I've got a 4-year-old granddaughter and a 2-year-old grandson, and if they're playing together or you get one-on-one time, I mean, it's hard not to be happy around them.
All right. Something that you did in high school that you never told your parents about.
Well, they're both gone.
So you can spill the beans now. They're not going to do anything.
You know, I don't. You know, it's funny.
He's going to tell us that he was a Boy Scout, right?
No. You know, I quit in the Cub Scout ranks.
Okay.
There, but no. It's funny. My parents back then. Okay, so growing up in the '60s. You know, we didn't have all the organized sports, so you were playing around the neighborhood. If it was you know, one day you're doing kickball, the next day you're doing ball tag, baseball, whatever, whoever had the ball, hey, let's go do this.
Right.
But by the time we got home, whatever we may have done that we probably should not have done, my mom would know, so she'd be there at the door. Okay,
Michael,
why did you do this? And you're like, my gosh, how did she get that? You know, but those landline telephones worked pretty well.
They did work fairly well back then. All right, What is the word or phrase that you use when you really want to swear, but your grandkids are around?
Oh my.
Oh, see, mine's for crying in 7 buckets. I learned that from a woman I used to work with at the Herald Whig years ago. There was a quick way for me to say that. Oh, and by the way, to be fair, in high school, didn't tell my parents about the time we were driving home from a baseball game in Warsaw, and like we had 6 cars going 100 miles an hour down Illinois 96. Not the smartest thing that we ever did, so probably not the best thing.
But
for
you're
me to tell
here to talk about it.
I'm still here to talk about it. And there's a bunch of guys who I played baseball with. They're going, "Oh my gosh, I remember that."
Yeah,
That was
Chief
really
Yates.
dumb.
I don't know what the statute of limitations is. But
Well, maybe we should check into that.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him come in here. Going 100 and a 35 through Ursa. Oh, it was terrible. What do you spend too much of your own money on?
Wow. I don't know. I'm being a financial guy.
You're pretty.
I think I'm pretty balanced.
Okay.
I do talk to my wife when I'm amazed at how many boxes are being delivered from Amazon or UPS.
Well, they don't have to go very far here in the long.
Right, but I'm just
future.
like, I keep looking if my name's on the box, and it's not. It's typically my wife's, but.
For me, it's I go out to eat too much. I should eat at home more often.
Well, we do too, but it's just easier sometimes to get the family together when you say you're going out and people want to order something different versus, well, what's cooking tonight? So
plus, it puts a lot of pressure on your wife.
Yeah.
Unless you're the cook. And are you the cook?
I don't mind it, but my wife would do 90% of it.
All right. What do you do when you can't sleep at night?
I usually taking notes. Something else comes up, and don't forget this, or I'll send a text to myself as to be sure to email or do something else. And
I watch old NFL films videos. Yeah. Those put me to sleep.
Once I make the note, though, unless it's something really, when we had the water main break September 12th, that was a couple sleepless nights.
Yeah.
Worrying about that, and are we going to be able to get it really repaired or not? But I probably still slept longer those 2 nights than Jeffrey Conte, our public works director, did.
I imagine.
Yeah.
All right. When you're in the car, what song comes on the radio that you have to sing the lyrics to?
You know what? Even when I'm alone, most of the time, you don't want to hear me sing.
Well, I'm not saying that we're not worried about quality.
Quality?
No.
I'm not. I'm usually listening to a talk radio or some.
I'm a big talk radio guy too.
Like
I like that. Doing that.
Or hands-free calls are coming in.
Yeah, "You Look Wonderful Tonight" by Eric Clapton. Love that song. Yeah. Great song to sing to. All right, last one. Something that you hate that everybody else loves.
Wow.
See, here's mine. Coffee.
Yeah,
not a coffee drinker.
Same here. I'm not a coffee drinker. I'll have it occasionally, but it may be at dinner.
Yeah.
Sometime if you're at a longer dinner, fine. I'll have coffee.
Yeah.
I don't want the dessert, but I'll
I'll
do something when everybody else is eating.
Hey, appreciate the time.
Well, thank you
very much, and best of luck to you next Tuesday.
Thank you.
And that's enough for our visit today with the Republican incumbent for mayor, Mike Troup.